everybody. And this week I have a driver that's been around the circuit for a long time, and he's not the first generation. He's done it in a couple of classes. Hi, Ken Brodie. Welcome to the interview corner for HRL.
Hi, Joanne. Glad to be here.
It's Joan. Just
No, I'm sorry. You're right. I know
you,
that. I know.
you knew it, and that's the first time I think you. Um, So you've been in the boat for a long time. You raced different category. How old were you when you started racing?
How old? I think 1993 was my rookie year. So that's a long time. You can do the math from there. But I know that I had never had a full year off until the COVID pandemic. So from 1993 to 2019 had been continuous racing. So these last 2 years have been a little tough.
What classes of boat have you driven?
Really, I think three. Well, the Jersey Skiff, that would be four. So I've been in the 5 liters, and now they call me H350s. Grand National, did Grand National Hydroplane for quite a long time. 5 years, I guess, was doing that. I did a little bit with the Unlimited Lights, and then I've been in Grand Prix since 2008.
Like I said, you're not the first generation of racer in your family. Your dad used to race also. How did it happen that you got involved? Was he racing first and then you got up to the sport?
Oh, I grew up with racing. I mean, that's since I was 6, 7 years old. That's all I remember. We basically did three things in our family. We ate a lot of pizza, we raced hydroplanes, and I played hockey. And Dad was my coach for quite a long time as well. So those were the three things that I did growing up. So once I got out of school and got working, things were a little bit different back then. Um, Once I got myself settled, I got my first 5 liter and started racing on my own. So Dad had always done. He basically always had a hand in my engines, though. So the family part of the sport really has meant a lot to me, and I've been very fortunate to be able to continue that with my children now.
You said your dad is involved in the sport, but have you ever raced against your father?
We did. There was one year that Dad and Audrey had two GP boats, and I ran the Old Freedom, and he had Pierre Levine's Ald by then, and we ran against each other in that. I didn't have a lot of success. He definitely had better equipment. And then one year I stepped up my G&H. We stepped up at Valleyfield to try and put on a better show for GP, and that's right before it ended for a little while before HRL brought it back. So I raced against him in the G&H, and I wasn't nearly fast enough in that. And there was one other time I think I drove Bob Zabaity's GP, and we raced each other, and I think that was probably the closest I ever got to him, but he still had too much speed for me. So
he kept all the engine for himself.
yeah, I think just at that time he definitely had better equipment than what I had. So, but yeah, so that it wasn't much of that, but it was definitely a treat. I think I've got a couple pictures out there of him and I on the dock after some of those races. So
You mentioned about now your daughter's stepping in. So how do you feel about that, having Amanda now starting racing?
like I said, it's a little bit different now. Amanda's still, she's still working her way through college, and she has a tremendous opportunity with her grandfather. You know, we'll find out. I wish her a lot of luck. I've been involved in helping prepare the boat to some degree. John Nebelecki has been doing most of it, but she was in the boat testing once. We're going to test again this week. We'll see how she does in that, and we'll head off plan is to go to Owensboro while we wait for HRL to come back to life. We'll get a little racing in that way, but she'll get her first heats in August.
It's not only HRL; it's all the Canadian and the border issue. So
yeah, I don't mean to put it on HRL. I think if the group of HRL could open up the border and have us all go racing, we'd already be there. So yeah, no, I don't mean to say that. I meant to say the border and the current pandemic situation up in Canada.
Yeah, between Canada and US, it's both ways. So it's
Yes, absolutely.
so
We'll figure it
everybody
out.
everybody's anxious to be involved in racing again. I'm pretty sure. I know Amanda has been involved in your team for quite a while. She's always wanted to be a driver. So I guess to see her race, or do you have jitters right now? Are you anxious or?
Yeah. I think if you said no, you'd probably be lying a little bit. And you know, you just there's a lot to these boats now. When I first got into racing, there wasn't any wings. It was quite a bit easier. I feel now, you know, there's just more. There's you know, there's a data logger and there's this fancy timers, and you know, make sure you hit the start a certain way. And it just seems, yeah, there's radios, there's air systems. It's just much more complicated than when it was when I got into it. You would, as you went along over the years, certain things were added, but you already had things before. Good news for Amanda, though. She's been around a long time. She strapped me in for a while. She's been on the radios, listening for many years. So I mean, she's got a good head on her shoulders. You know, we'll see how she does. She did fine testing. We'll see how she does out there in a crowd soon enough. So
Yeah,
I think she'll be fine. I think she'll
yeah, yeah. Pretty sure. Um, if we go back to who is Ken Brodie, what do you in life, Ken?
I work for Don Less in GP50. At this point now, I'm the president of the organization. Been here 21 years, um, and I feel very fortunate. We design and manufacture pressure and sensor transmitters for aerospace and the oil and gas industry. They're my primary sponsor for the boat, and we have about 130 employees, and it's been a heck of a run. Um, the company does well, and just fortunate to have a great team of people around me. And managing the organization is something that I love to do, and I'm always excited to get up every morning and go to work. So that's the work side. You know, the dad part, I really enjoyed, you know, growing up and getting Amanda to college. We had some softball days that were fun. She did a lot of dance in the early years. Of course, she crewed on the boat, and then you know, being a dad to Kenny, he's senior in high school. I just can't believe how fast the time has gone. Coached him in hockey. Kind of watching now, you know, as a parent from away, but I'm just surprised, or not surprised. It's just amazing though how fast time goes, and that you know, Dad's gone now. He passed away a little over a year and a half ago, and it's still hard to believe that he's gone. And now it's really you know, I'm now senior. It feels like, and um, you know, getting ready for whatever the next chapter as the kids start to go off and do their own thing. Kenny's got to get through this last year of high school, and then he'll move on into some kind of college at some point. So not boring. I'm not bored by any means, but definitely transitioning into a different life than you know, being full-time parent. Um, so I'm looking forward to doing that with my wife. So and we'll see where racing is involved with that. Having raced as long as I have, I don't know how many years I have left. I do think it's becoming a younger and younger man sport, although Jimmy King certainly continues to defy those odds, and you know, he seems to be an Iron Man. But for me, I just will take it year by year. So looking forward to the next time we can get out there, and if not this year, for sure, we'll be out in 2022.
When you were younger, was it what you do now? Is it what you wanted to do, or were you expecting to do something else? Or you dreamed of
Yeah,
something
well,
else?
I was in the food industry, coming out of what little I really didn't finish college. I left early, got into the work field. I was in the restaurant business, and I was working in the restaurant business when Mr. Less, you know, talked to me about joining GP50, and I didn't think that it would work, but I said, maybe we'll give it a try. I'd been doing a lot of restaurants, which is nights, weekends, and I ended up really, really liking it. And it certainly has worked. It's worked for everybody, or seemingly it has. So I don't know whether you're supposed to do it. I'm not so sure. Back then, I did think I would probably be in the restaurants for a long time, and then when it changed to work here at GP50, I don't know if I ever would have expected that I would have been here 21 years. So, but it's been fun.
Good. We talked about Amanda driving. Does the Kenny dream of racing one day?
He really hadn't ever said anything until about 3 months ago. About 3 months ago, he said that he would be interested in getting in that thing. Although I'm not so sure. He's taller than me now, so I don't know if he's going to fit. We'd have to set it up like Tyler's 2.5 stock. I don't know. We've got a couple of H boats here that are in the garage, so. Maybe his uncle Joe might let him try an H350 at some point, but he's going to keep going down the hockey road, and you can only do so much. So hockey's first, and when he's done with the hockey, I told him there'll be plenty of time to get into a boat. So, but yes, he's finally started to show a little interest.
Good. Because I remember that when they were a kid, so it tells me that I've been around for a long time too. They sure did grow up a lot, and seeing Kenny, I saw a picture of you guys, and he's really tall now.
Yes,
Kind of funny was like teeny Kenny.
Yeah.
Going back to racing, what is your best memory, best souvenir of racing?
Wow, that one's tough. There are so many. I think going back, I think I remember my first win in a heat at Lake Apacon, my first year racing the 5-liter. There's nothing like being out front in clean water, and that was a lot of fun. I think winning the Eastern Divisionals in the G&H at Cambridge. Having some victories, some heat victories at Valleyfield. I think that goes. I won the G&H final, came up, collected everything, and you get out of the boat, and then I got back to the pits. That was in the old days, and they said you jumped the gun, and they took the trophy. So that was that would have been one of the best ones, and then that was kind of snatched from me. So I didn't agree. I didn't think I jumped the gun, but obviously I did. Those are about, I think my first GP win at Longsu was a good one. Or well, I guess that was the second one, but that was the first one I led wire to wire. That was a good win. And then I think last year, something, or the end of 2019 in Beauharnois when I won that final. There was some other bad luck. Brandon had broke, and King had some infraction. So he still won the championship. But to come in and to win that one, all the kids were there. Dad was there. That was his last race that he ever attended. So for him, we got to go out on a winning note, and that was a great afternoon. So, but there really have been many good times. I've had some good finishes at Detroit. Seems like I like second place there at Detroit. I've been second there too many times, but there's just been a lot of there haven't been as many final wins as I would have liked, but I think these last couple of years now we're getting closer and closer. So I'm real excited about whatever this next year or in the next year brings for the team. I'm more about looking forward than looking backwards.
Was there any driver that inspired you when you were a kid?
Yeah, well, pretty much my father was something that I really liked, I looked up to him. He drove a ton of boats. I mean, there were sometimes he'd get out of the super stock and get into a 5 liter and then into a 6 liter and then sometimes into a G&H or a GP. So I really did look up to him. But there were many, many good drivers. I remember the Brodie Reeds and the Howie Benz and, um, Bob Theoret. There were just a ton of, good drivers that back in the day that inspired me to keep going. I remember Mark Tate, Andy's dad. He was a heck of a driver. One of my other favorite ones was George Kennedy Jr. He's retired now, and I said, geez, he's been retired for a while. If he can retire, it's probably getting time for me too, because I raced a lot against him. The Weber boys, Mark Weber and Mike Weber. Really enjoyed my time running against them in 5 liter. I mean, they really set a standard. So there's just been, and I'm sure I've forgotten a ton of them, but there were many drivers that I looked up to and enjoyed running. Another one that I really have had a lot of fun with over the years is Tommy Thompson. Just a class act. He'd give you a 1 lane only and maybe even a little less sometimes. But he was always enjoyed running with Tom. Always enjoyed running with him. So, but yeah, many drivers, that's for sure.
If you could travel time, who would you like to race against?
Oh, without doubt, I'd like to go back and run against my dad. I'd love to be able to go, get him one time and be able to, to beat him heads up with the same equipment would be nice. But, another guy that was taken way too early was Joe Jambroni. I knew that family very well. And, it'd be fun to kind of go back in time and run against him. I have some pretty fond memories of Joe as well. So he would be a great one to go back in time and run around. He was a guy that could get a lot out of a boat. He was a hard driver, could get an awful lot out of a boat. So
Your best the boat team, like Pate, who was your favorite boat of all time?
back then, I would have to say, as a kid, and I don't know about it, growing up, I think things changed, but the boat that I liked the most was the Long Gone. That GP boat was that something about the yellow and brown, and I liked all the different ones, is from the Jones to the Staudacher. And I thought it was really neat when Jimmy's family, brought it back and, had those colors. I thought that was just, it was iconic in the days. Seeing that old cab over running against the conventionals when I was a kid, and that was pretty interesting. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Mike Andrews, who we also lost recently. Mike was another one that I grew up idolizing. He was here in the island, and he drove the 3rd generation, and then he moved himself up into GP, and with his crew chief Dan Groby, they got a ton out of the boat the different boats that they ran. I think that was in the 90s before he retired as a driver, and then came back to lead the Steeler team. But so yeah, Mike Andrews, I absolutely idolized him as well. So that's why one of those ones I forgot for a moment.
You're from Grand Island, and there's a lot of driver that comes from the area, Grand Island, Tonawanda, and everything. So it's kind of the valley field, but in your area, because you have a lot of people involved in the sport.
And when I grew up, when I was a kid, we had 3 races here a year. We had they would call it a spring race that the Women's Tri-Power Racing Association put on, and then there was another club that did one in the summer, and then they would call it the Icebreaker. I think they would call that one in the fall. But we had 3 races. Think about it, 3 races every year. Right at Isle Park, and now people struggle to get one. So it was a different time, that's back in I would say the late 70s and beginning of 80s. And then, slowly went from 3 down to 2, then down to 1. So, and then for a while we didn't have any races here, but it's still a strong place for racing. I don't think there's any doubt. Nothing's the same as it was before, but yeah, Grand Island and the surrounding area, the Tonawandas, are chock full of a lot of ex-racers. That's for sure.
What is your best course, the race site, and why?
The best, or results is different than I think the best. I really would just love going to Valleyfield. I can't tell you how many times I've been second in Valleyfield and then third. I think racing in front of those fans at Valleyfield is one of the reasons why if you're a real true racer, why you love doing it. And trying to win at Valleyfield is great. It's you just can't get in the boat and go around and make laps. That top turn, that's basically 3 pins. I mean, you've got to really figure out how to get through that. The wind coming up the back chute on a Sunday afternoon, you got to figure out how not to blow over. And then heading down into that first corner where there's never enough room. So it's a true driver's course, but it's something that I've enjoyed and look forward to, and it's really hard to believe that this is going to be the second year of no Valleyfield. But yeah, that's probably my all-time favorite. I think after that, one race that I really do like is Cambridge. I like the course, great course. And, just something else that's nice is the pit facilities. It's just a nice place to be able to hold a race. You can see the course real nice. So those are two of my favorites. But I'll tell you, there's a couple ones behind it. Detroit's a great race. Love running in Detroit. So hoping we can get back there soon.
The race course that gives you the most challenge, that's the most difficult to race.
I would say probably Brockville is been a tough one. And I think just because of how rough it's, we have had some success there, but I've also had some tough luck there.
As many teams?
Yeah, I mean, you really gotta watch yourself there. Off the water coming off the seawall, and that wind there, and so Brockville is extremely challenging. But that's another one that it's fun to run there, but it is challenging. I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah, challenging, I think, is the right word. Like in Tonawanda also, it's challenging because of
and I could have put Tonawanda down. That's the last time I've been over upside down was at Tonawanda, and that should have never happened, but it did. But Tonawanda, since we moved down to Gratwick Park, it's better than where we used to race up at the other place. So, but yeah, I would still put Brockville as a more challenging course than Tonawanda.
Talking about flips and upside down, were you involved in a lot of accidents, or were you scared, or did you scare anybody?
The scared thing is I think if you're scared, that's probably the time to get out. I think, every time that I think I've gone over, I think I've been over 5 or 6 times. It's been more than I should have. But the equipment now, I really believe the equipment now, for just a straight out flip, we're in the capsule now. You've got an air system. You train on how to get out. They tell you what to do in those situations. So you got to trust your equipment. And ever since we started putting air in the system, every time I flipped, it was just like getting out of a pool. So it's been fairly easy. But it's really hard on the equipment, and it's hard on the crew and the family. So it's not something that I like to do. I think the last time I got on the radio and I said, "Tell my wife I'm fine," and I hadn't even gotten out of the cockpit yet. So I think that's where you start to worry, and that's what happens when you get older. You start to worry about what other people are going to think, as opposed to, I know I'm fine. I've done this before, but So yeah, I've been in my share. And I've had some other close calls. I consider myself fairly, fortunate. I had a close call with Marty Wolf, and I don't even remember the year back in with Longsu, and it was just a racing accident that happened, and if not for the grace of God, it could have gone another way. So, but other than that, I've always really come out of everything, fine. So.
Earlier you mentioned that you love pizza, but do you prefer your steak medium, rare, well done?
I'm more of a rare guy, and maybe a medium rare, but really not. Really, it's supposed to be rare.
Rare. With
Yeah.
And wine, red or white?
Red.
Red.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
Are you more a meat guy or a seafood guy?
Meat.
Meat.
Yeah. I mean, I like seafood. And I like to mix it up, especially in the summer. But if you had to, tell me which ones would I want a big piece of fish or a strip steak or a T-bone, I'll take the T-bone or the strip steak. For sure.
For sure. Boxer or brief?
Briefs.
Can you grow a mustache?
I probably could, but it's all white now. Anytime I try and grow the beard or any of that kind of stuff, it's all white, and then I really start to look shaggy and old. So no, I don't. I choose not to. For
So
about 3 or 4 days, I pretty much shave it all off.
No Movember for you then.
No. I mean, I look old enough with it, but yeah, it starts to. That looks like all like a Santa Claus. So.
Who do you think is the funniest driver in the HRL?
The funniest driver. Well, it used to be the guy that I really used to think was a barrel last was Dale Hernandez Jr. He was hilarious. Who do I think is the funniest? Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass on that one. I'm not so sure I know anymore. It is one of the other problems. I look around and you see everybody. There's so many new faces now, which is great. It's nice to see all these new faces. I just don't know as many of them. I mean, you have people come up and say, "Hi, Ken." Hi, I go, "Hi, back." I'm not so sure who you are.
Who is that guy?
Who is that guy? So yeah, I might have to pass on who's the funniest guy. Yeah, you have to come back to me on that one. That one I wasn't prepared for. Sorry.
Do you work out?
Oh yeah. Wife and I work out a lot. We do yoga a couple times a week, run, and a few weights. So I attribute that to still being able to get in it and drive. And about 4 years ago, I started doing yoga. I had some back problems after being strapped in for all these years, and the yoga really has helped me stretch and stay in shape where I can get in and out of the boat and really not be nearly as tired as I used to be. So yeah, I think you almost have to work out to drive a Grand Prix.
Because probably you get
especially at my age.
Because probably you get sore. You get sore after racing.
Yeah, you get sore, and I got good seats. The seat is good. But yeah, you just get banged around enough. I mean, I'll end up, I turn around and I'm black and blue, Monday or Tuesday in certain parts and nothing happened. But that's just, yeah, it does happen. So
It does.
Yeah, you get a little sore. So you do got to work out.
Do you have any siblings?
No, I'm an only child. So it makes it easy. But I have to admit, it would have been nice to have a brother or a sister to deal with aging parents. Would have been nice. So, but no, I'm an only child.
And do you, Amanda and Kenny, get along easy? They do.
And it's really nice to see. They communicate a lot. They are extremely close. And that's nice to see, with Amanda being the old one, she really does try and look after him. I'm not so sure he wants that as much anymore, but they are very close, and I'm happy for them that they have each other in that way.
What is your biggest dream?
Biggest dream?
It can be race related or not. Just
I don't know if I have a biggest dream anymore racing wise. I think we haven't been able to win a championship. So I really would like to win the championship, and I know I don't have that many years left, so I got to get going. And then the other thing would be to just try and, hoist that trophy at Valleyfield. Those are the biggest dreams from a racing standpoint. From just in general now, I just continue to have good health and try and live as long as you possibly can to see. I'd really like to see the kids grow and, see if they have some kids of their own and just kind of laugh at them a little bit, to see what they need to go through. So I want to try and stay as healthy as possible to be around to see all those kind of things. That's another dream.
And your biggest fear?
Fear. Probably the other way is just not for whatever reason, not having, I wouldn't say it's a fear. I don't even know fears. Biggest fear. Biggest fear. Good question. Good question, Joan. Biggest fear.
Not drowning?
What's that?
Drowning? Like
No, well, I don't know. Drowning. It's not a lot. It's not. It wouldn't be a fun way to go. That's for sure. I agree with you on that.
I knew a driver that was afraid of water, that was afraid of drowning.
Yeah.
I remember.
Biggest fear. I'm not so sure I have one. I have little fears, but that's so much of a biggest fear. Also, like I said, the biggest fear, would be not being able to stay healthy, and then I don't want to be a burden to anybody. So, I never would want to be in a position where somebody had to take care of me. And so that would be a fear, I guess, if I had to look at that. So I'm, that motivates me to try and stay in as best health as I can. So not wanting to be, a burden to anybody, especially my kids.
Your favorite car?
Favorite car. I think it's a Corvette. I've talked about getting a Corvette once I'm done racing. So I figure how many I already have enough bad habits. So no, but yeah, I really do like the Corvettes, so I'm an American manufacturing guy. So I like GM products over Ford. So yeah, I would say Corvette.
Preference in color?
In color?
Yeah.
Blue is my favorite color, always has been. And that's why I'm excited that this year we did in my dad's honor, we repainted the GP50. It's primarily blue, the red, white, and blue, and we renamed it Freedom for we were going to do it for 21, but now it'll for sure be out there for 2022. So yeah, blue's my favorite color.
Have you ever failed the breathalyzer?
I failed one the first year they rolled it out. The first year they rolled it out. I then took it a half hour later and passed though. So it wasn't like I failed it and then couldn't drive. But that was a wake up call that times were changing. The era of being able to be out until 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning, and have a bunch of beers, or other things, and then get up and get in the boat. Those days were behind us. So, and I guess that probably goes back at least 6-7 years when we first started it. But they gave you a second chance back then, and I passed it the second time. So it wasn't like I, couldn't drive for the day. So yeah.
You were lucky.
Yep. Yeah. And I learned my lesson. That was the only time. So.
Good. Talking about this season, who do you think will be our champion in every classes? If there's a season this year, there's a race calendar. I know it's a short one. Who will be our contender in every class? If we start with the Grand Prix.
I'd have to say you got to give the edge to Tate, just because their team is been so strong in the past. From there, I'm going to tell you, I'm putting myself the 50 right there because I think we're ready. So I really hope I take 4 races, and unlike Huey, I say, okay, I'm champ after 4 races if we won. And we take that. So that's probably what I would pick there. In the S boat, I truthfully really don't know the S boat. I know it's not going to be my daughter because she's got to qualify. So, she won't get enough points by the time she's done qualifying. So
We never know. We never know.
you never know. I think that Tremblay guy is pretty good, right? He's running, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would probably pick him. I'd probably pick him on the S boats. In the Formula, the F boats, I think maybe Scott Liddycote, it could be his year. He won Valleyfield. Was it last year he won Valleyfield? I mean,
Yeah.
he's running pretty good. So an American guy, I'd like to see Scotty win. And
He's a Canadian. Scott is Canadian.
You're right, but he lives in the US now.
But he's still Canadian.
Yeah, you're right. He is Canadian. You got me there. In the H boats, I'd be pulling for Bobby King, my backup driver, and he's going to get a chance to drive a little bit this year. But yeah, I think it could be Bobby's year, so I'd be rooting for him.
And GSS.
How do you go against 7? Patrick Dooney seems like he's he's the guy, but I don't know. If not him, Greenlaw certainly is capable, but probably 7 is who I'd go for.
Jimmy Stewart, young Benjamin.
You asked me who I thought.
Yeah, I know. I know. I think everybody's forgetting that Jimmy is going to be on the circuit the whole season this year. So some people are forgetting about that fact that before he was just joined for a few races, but
gotcha.
Now he's a registered HRL racer now. So
okay, well, they'll probably be very competitive then.
Yeah, I think it could be interesting to see those two.
That sounds good.
That sounds good.
I didn't know that. I thought he was just running part-time. Okay.
No, he's going to be full-time with HRL.
Well, that's great. That's a great class.
Yeah, it's interesting to see too.
Oh, for sure.
Do you have a favorite artist or band or type of music that you prefer?
Old stuff. No, not really. I'm not really into the new music anymore. I do like Adele. My wife likes. I do like Adele. Like her music. Other than that, I pretty much like the old stuff. Most people wouldn't remember the old Journeys and Foreigners and that type of stuff. So, Billy Joel, those guys I like. So.
Okay, I'm the same group of you then. That's my era too. So.
Yep.
Are you a dog or cat type?
Dog.
Do you own one?
I'm allergic to cats. I'm allergic to cats. Not I'm not. It's not that I don't like cats, but if you ask me either one, I like dogs.
Do you own one?
No, my wife doesn't like them. So yeah, I've had them throughout my life though. So we do a lot of traveling. So currently I don't have a dog, but some of the kids have dogs, and our friends have dogs, so they're always around.
Do you go hunting or fishing?
I'm starting to fish a little bit more. Never really been a hunter. I think you can only do so many bad habits. Again, that's so I wouldn't say it's a bad habit, but it takes a lot of time hunting. But I do some fishing in the river here in Niagara, and then out on the lake. Go out there and try and catch some walleye. So yeah, I do like to fish.
On your spare time, what do you do?
Hey, in the last year and a half, you've had some time. So normal year you don't have as much time.
Do you practice other sports?
I do. I play some tennis. I still ever on occasion get out and skate around on the rink. Trying to think. I like to play my son in ping pong. So ping pong we still play. Yeah, that's about it. Those are about the only sports I play. All the other ones pretty much given up.
when you're at the race, do you have a routine, something that you have to do before going in a boat, or uh, something special like you need to do every time you go racing?
You know, you're not the first one who's asked me that. I guess other people have asked me that. I, I do like to envision trying to run the race before, you run it. I don't know if that's right before, um, but try and also maybe just kind of get into a quiet place, for even just 2, 3 minutes before you in the motorhome before I head out to the dock, just to try and clear the head of what you got to go do. So just try and have a plan, but pretty much you're doing almost the same thing every time. You put on your driving suit, you make sure you got your gloves, make sure you got your watch, and just I try and do all those same things. The other thing is I'm pretty rigid about going in and checking the cockpit, make sure that my belts are correct, the radio's in, just check all my safety thing. I kind of say that cockpit is mine, the rest of the boat is some of the other people are responsible for, but I try and make sure that the cockpit's ready to go because I'm getting in it. So
You talk about radio. Now, when you start racing, you didn't have a radio or a spot, like we say, a spotter. What is your relationship with your radio person? What do you expect from him, and what do you like him to do, him or her to do?
well, it's funny you say that because since 2008, it's been my dad. So I've never, since I've been in the GP boat, I've never had anybody on the radio other than my father. So obviously that's going to change this year, and I haven't picked who that person is going to be yet. Um, at some point it could be Amanda, but I don't think she's quite ready to put her there yet. So I'm going to decide shortly who. John Nebelecki, who's done my radios in the past in 5 liter when I race 5 liter for Don. He's certainly one that I could go looking at, but I don't know. The radio is and I got about a month to figure that out. So I am, though, an old dog when it comes to the radio. I probably don't require as much as some of the younger guys. I talk a little bit. I listen. I had a very good routine with my dad, and I'm sure I can set that up again. But you're right. When you grow up most of the time not having a radio, I think you're used to it now. I'm very used to the radio now. As a matter of fact, I like it's nice to have. I think it's really in today's age, it's absolutely needed. But I think certain people want things more than others. So, and I don't mind it when it's quiet.
You don't mind. You only have a few point you need to know, like
Yeah. There's only a few things that I like to know, and I keep that kind of in the team. So.
your radio is not your the radio is not the driver.
And I mean, my dad used to talk and talk and talk, and I wouldn't, there were times that, I wouldn't usually respond to much of it. It's him just basically telling you what's going on in the course, either in front of you or behind you. So that's typically what they're talking about. So, but it's nice to have a good radio person. I do think it's important.
Yeah, exactly. Um, Thank you for your time. I really appreciate all your answer. It was great. But I'll let you have a few moments if you want to thank anybody, sponsor, team member. It was great
Yeah,
talking to you.
that'd be great. I would, there's no way that I would be doing what I've been doing so long without Don Less and GP50. Been very fortunate that he has continued to support the Grand Prix team. And then I've gone to him, after each year, I said, well, what do you think? You want to do it another year? And he'd ask me and say, well, what do you want to do? And I said, well, yeah, I think I'd like to go run next year. And he'd say, all right, give it another year. And, that's been going since 2008. And I think I've been running with him in one of his teams since 1998. So it's been a pretty long run. And without him, none of it would have been possible. So I'm very grateful to him. Very grateful to John Nebelecki. He's also been with me since that time. He worked with my dad beforehand when my dad drove. John works tirelessly on every single one of Don's boats, and now the latest one is Amanda's. He's another one that just goes above and beyond. And without him, I don't think we would keep going as well. So from there, my wife Karen, my kids, supporting this. I think I told my wife that I was going to quit about a year and a half after I met her. So now, almost 10 years later, I'm still racing. So I mean, she's said, I thought we were all done with this. You were gonna give this up, and I go, yeah. I guess I told a small white lie. So I think I was afraid that she wouldn't stick with me if I told her all I wanted to do was boat race. So anyhow, but I thank them. My kids have given up some stuff. I think they've had a pretty good childhood, but we've done a lot of boat racing, and when you do racing, you give up other things. So, but I think they've enjoyed it for the most part. And that's, I've had some other, it's going to be tough to do this without Dad. I just was very fortunate to have him in my corner. He retired from driving and then went right into working on the team. And I don't think I've been to a race since '08 without him. So, that's a huge void that the team is going to have to fill. And we'll get there. And then the Maduris have been a great family. BJ, Mike, Bernie, Sherry. They worked with my dad for a lot of years, and in the early years were at all of the races. And then it was funny to see them get married and start to have some kids, and they couldn't come to all the races because that's what happens. But they're going to be at Owensboro this year, and so they'll always be part of the crew. They'll always be part of the crew, even if they're cheering me on from Michigan. So great family. So
Thank you very much. And hopefully we'll see each other at the end of the summer, because we'll be able to race, and hopefully we'll have a short season but great one.
Joan, I can tell you that if we're able, the GP50 and the S50 will be there. We'll be ready.
Good. And I'll cheer you on from the distance.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Have fun, and hopefully we'll see each other soon. Thank you very much for your time, Ken, and see you soon. Thank you, everybody, and stay tuned. We'll have more interviews during the next couple of weeks. Thank you.